EduTechGuys Radio. Radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed on the site and its programs are those of participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.
Hey, and welcome to the EduTech Guys. Come to you live from Hope Public Schools in Hope, Arkansas, and also sponsored by the Southwest Arkansas Educational Cooperative in Hope, Arkansas. I want to give a big shout out to CDWG, who has provided us with some equipment for the show. And welcome. I'm Jeff Madlock.
I'm Greg Moore.
And here pretty soon, David Henderson, our other compatriot and evil guy on the radio, will also call in. He is on an errand to pick up Kevin Honeycutt from the airport in Little Rock and deliver him to a conference in Conway.
Da-da-da-da.
And so they will be traveling in their car, or someone's car, David's car, I presume. I think it's David's car.
Just a random car that they picked up at the airport.
That's what it is. It's just
that's
a
what was
random car.
unlocked. We'll go for it.
They're going to pick up a random car and take a ride in it. They're going to, and then they will be on the show coming live from the car.
Woo!
Which would be kind of cool.
Yes.
Oh, we've never done
It'll be an adventure.
an adventure. We've never done a true mobile show, have we?
No.
This will be about as mobile as it gets, I believe. Exactly. Greg and I have moved to our alternate hidden location
Deep in the
to
back
broadcast the show. Yeah, this is actually, and it's funny you would say cave because this is kind of a cave.
Exactly.
We are in an undisclosed basement in an undisclosed city. Oh no, well we told you we were in Hope, so I guess you know.
Darn it, you spoiled the surprise.
But now find us if you can. But like I said, David should be giving us a ring-a-ding anytime here. We hope that he will. And we'll get him on the line. On today's show, like I said, we will have Kevin Honeycutt. And David will be coming in remotely. Not a lot going on tech-wise, edutech-wise, in the old podcastosphere.
It's been a very quiet week.
It really has been a very quiet week.
It's been just quiet across the board, not just in edutech news, but just in the schools. It's just, I think everybody is in the testing lull. Just head down, test, get it over with, get done.
I think you're right. And, it's interesting. This is the very end of colleges and universities finish up pretty much this month, first week of May. So they're getting close to finals time. And
Yep.
This is all testing for the state of Arkansas. And most places around the country are doing benchmarks or standards tests or something along that. So you're right. It's a little quiet. I do know something that I read this week that was quite interesting. And it was about the new Apple Watch. And first, it was a rumor that it was going to be thinner.
Oh, right.
But now some sources say they're going to release it in May at WWDC. Is that right?
Worldwide Developer Conference?
Yeah,
Yeah, WWDC.
They're going to release it, but all it is a guts refresh. That's all it is. They're going to probably up the processor on it or something like that, which is pretty cool because Greg actually wears an Apple Watch.
I did. I finally broke down and got one. I debated for a long time. Like, do I get an Apple Watch? Do I not get an Apple Watch? It's a fair amount of money. Do I really need it? And I have added more features and apps to my phone and iPad and watch in the past week or two than I have in like the past 6 months of just using my regular iOS stuff. It's been really interesting. There's all sorts of features that I was like, oh yeah, I didn't know I needed this in my life, and I totally did.
I didn't know I needed. Thanks to Apple for adding something to my life.
Exactly.
My wife and my oldest daughter have Apple Watches, and they actually say that they use their phone less.
Yeah, it's true. It really is.
That's really interesting. I mean, I have a Martian watch, which is just alerts me. That's all it does.
Right, exactly. Little green guy with an antenna on top of his head.
Yeah.
Hey, you got
He shoots me with a small laser. And
More of an emotion.
I have a small hair removal on my arm. So, laser hair removal. But, it changed my life. I don't pull my phone out of my pocket as much.
Exactly. It's like, okay, is this an email that's like some guy who wants to get in touch with me, sell some new products, or is this like a teacher who actually needs help?
I could see if I could actually respond back to the phone if we ever need for me to take it out. Yeah. So that's really awesome. I think it's pretty cool. There's a whole set of new Apple Watch commercials that have come out this week.
I love the Cookie Watch. The Cookie Monster Apple Watch
with
commercial.
The Siri, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, is there a watch commercial with Cookie Monster?
Oh, no, excuse me.
Siri.
There's a Siri commercial for
There's
that.
a whole set that's come out with athletes. One of them has Alice Cooper, the heavy metal rocker. He's playing golf.
Oh.
And he's doing poorly. And then his watch tells him that he's done enough of his actions for the day, and he goes, and he finishes and puts his truck over his arm and walks off the screen. very, very intriguing to me. Yeah, so I understand they're going to release. They're going to try to release some stuff in May.
Right.
Which
Typical refresh.
yeah, typical refresh, and just to get the market kind of excited a little bit out there. I guess is what they're going to do with that. But yeah, that's a big deal. The other thing I was looking at last night. We're always looking for.
We hear it, David.
That is the alarm. That's what that is. That's letting us know that David is coming online.
Oh, let's see if we can get some.
Hey,
audio.
David.
Man, can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, man, I'm getting there.
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, hang on.
Don't wreck the car, man.
Trying.
And now we get to have
All right.
live on the
I don't know
radio.
what you can see, so that's
It
close
is.
enough.
It's a glorious shot of the steering wheel.
It's a glorious
what
shot.
always
I can
wanted
see
to
Kevin. Yeah, I see
There
Kevin.
we
There you
go.
go. That's great.
There. Is that better?
Yeah. Hey, let me.
Our shot is almost as good.
Can you hear us okay?
There we go.
We'll pull you guys back a little ways, and so you can see where we're coming from. We're coming from the Batcave today.
Yeah.
I see that.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Actually, I can't quite tell where you're coming from, and it's probably better if I don't look and try to figure it out.
You watch the road. Yeah, we just want to hear you. That's all. Hey, Kevin, did you have a good flight?
Yeah, it's all right.
That's cool.
Let me hang on a sec. Let me adjust. There. We should be able to hear you better
the
now.
volume all the way up on the phone.
Probably not.
It's the future.
It's the future. How's that? Better?
Wow.
Jeez, oh freaking
Here
man.
now.
What? It was funny. We were talking. We're actually live. We've been on the air for a bit. We've been talking about a few things, and then Steve Miller came on, was stuck in the middle with you. So that was our alarm that you were calling in.
Exactly.
Cool.
Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Boom! I knew who it was.
Here I am,
Of
stuck
course.
in the middle.
Stuck in the middle.
I mean, that's Steelers wheel, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Hey, so yeah, a great flight. We're glad to have you guys coming to us. As I said today, you're coming to us mobile. This is our first true mobile experience.
Exactly.
Podcast from the road. Yeah.
It
There
is.
was an old podcast called Driving Questions in Education that was from the road every time. From a car.
You were doing that.
That was me.
Oh,
That is
I
awesome.
didn't know you were setting me up,
Go
man.
on YouTube and look up Half Crash Latte. And you'll see me doing my podcast and I get crashed into at Starbucks in the drive-thru.
Oh, that's
All
great.
on air. It's all live. You just need to be
I'm going to put that in the notes. That's going in the notes right now.
Half Crash Latte.
Half crash
You
latte.
can, like, reach over and close the laptop because I just know when the police arrive, they're going to blame the podcast. Even though it's the one behind me that did it.
That's right.
So now, tell us where you guys. Now, where are you heading? What's going on? What's going on with you this weekend? This week.
We are headed, right now, we're actually headed to Conway. And then starting tomorrow and Friday, we will be at the Education Service Center. Can you hear us?
Yeah,
I see
man.
Greg is giving some gestures. I'm not quite sure they're appropriate.
There we go.
Yeah,
That's why it's
I like
radio.
Greg's hat. Greg's hat, cool hat.
yeah, he does.
Thank
He's
you.
got a whole bunch of those. That's right. All right, so we're going to be at the Education Service Center in a little town outside of Conway, up in Plummerville.
Plummerville.
Yeah,
I've been
and
there.
what we're doing is we're having a conference. It's called the TIE Conference, TIE. It is the Technology Infused Education Conference. And am I yelling? I feel like I'm yelling.
No,
You're not.
no, you're good.
You're good.
All right, and it's a program that was started back in 2007-ish. Hang on, rush hour traffic. And I think I was thinking about this on the way up. I think Kevin and Tammy Wooster, I think, were the first two folks we had at that conference back then. Kevin and I have been buddies ever since, as far as that goes.
Remember, there's a Volkswagen outside that looked like a catfish. Remember
Yes,
that?
yes,
That-
yes. The catfish Volkswagen bug.
Yeah, I can repost. I'll repost that on Twitter so you can see the picture. It was cool.
It is cool.
That's pretty cool.
Years ago, what was that? 5 years ago?
I
6?
think more than that, yeah. Because that had to have been.
Because you were still.
Well, you've been
you were
back a couple of
sophomore in high
times.
school.
I was, yeah, sophomore in high school. Yeah.
You still wear that kilt you used to wear.
That's right.
Yeah.
The kilt with the. See, back in those
You're
days,
big on Scottish heritage. I didn't say nothing.
I was sporting quite the. Oh crud! No, forget it. I can't.
That's
remember
back when you had a ponytail, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, close to it. I had the whole, business in the front, party in the back deal.
The mullet.
I really did. Yeah, the mullet. Thank you. It's hard to concentrate on words when I'm driving. I can't think and drive at the same time. I'm scared of that.
So this is a 2-day conference, isn't it? Thursday and Friday?
Yes. And during the conference, we're actually going to have multiple breakout sessions. In fact, I looked at the schedule just a little bit ago, and we're going to have a session that is aimed at some of the more advanced cool things you can do in Google with Google Apps. I think there's at least a session on Classroom itself. Basically, the makeup of this conference, the way this works, we reached out to if I remember correctly, we reached out to all the co-ops back then and said, hey, send us a couple of names. You have to pardon me. I got the hiccups out of nowhere. Driving down the road, got the hiccups, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. But we reached out to the co-ops and said, hey, send us a couple of names of the folks who in those days were doing some tech integration stuff. And so it's just kind of grown since then. Started with a grant, and then we were granted additional monies from ADE. So we cover all kinds of things. Kevin's main focus, well, I'm not sure what Kevin's main focus is going to be, what he's supposed to be doing. No, we're gonna look at some of his Launch Me stuff, and so that helping teachers, especially, we've got some really good folks involved. In fact, we've had several of them on the show before. Susan Gilly is one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So so she's one of our Thai folks, and my goal in trying to get, in fact, I kind of helped persuade the powers that be to get Kevin in here and to really focus on the Power Up side, or the Launch Me side, is pardon me, that those folks who are doing things for their school in their classroom where they're kind of the local superstar, and maybe they've done some outside stuff, take them to the next level, take them to the Honeycutt, the Kevin Honeycutt level. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what the Launch Me, at least from what I understand, that's what the Launch Me does. I could be way wrong, and we're just shooting people out of the building. I don't know.
Hey, as long as you can land them back on a water-based drone, you're right up there with everybody else, man.
We could try that. I think we could work on that.
Yeah,
I think we have all these like local heroes, these cult of personality teachers who are really good, but when they're not connected, they're very vulnerable because they're at the mercy of the next school board election or the next hire that doesn't understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're rock stars 1 minute and they're gone the next. And so the sooner we get them connected to the larger networks of people, so that the world knows who they are, and the world checks in with the school, and the school realizes the world notices, and suddenly they are some pig, and they won't become bacon.
Yeah.
We're kind of in a hurry to get them connected to a larger world so they don't become, I don't know, I think the difference between global and snow global, they can be great inside the snow globe, but if they're not global, they're vulnerable, and their programs are vulnerable, and their kids are vulnerable.
Right.
To everyone just not seeing the value, and they go away overnight. And we've seen that happen over and over. So how do we get them connected? And I don't mean just to get credit for themselves, but to get visibility for their program, for student success, for why Maker works, STEM works, STEAM works, whatever they're doing, to back their play in a bigger world than the local.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, you're kind of the app sumo of the education world. You're going to help those folks get out there. Yeah.
Right. And a lot of times they don't get it. They don't get the value of that yet. And they don't get their vulnerability yet because they're freshmen. They're all excited. But they don't get that the winds can change pretty quick,
Yeah.
these can go away. So, how do you build what's the word, sustainability? And I think that comes with the world noticing. For some reason, local systems notice when the world notices.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, something else I noticed too is that when they're in their small little, they're contained at their level, and they're not really getting their word out, and they're not getting any. There you go. That's a boys and that a boys and things like that. Then they can actually slow down and they stop growing. So a network like LaunchMe can make sure that they continue to grow their product.
Yeah, I think when you start comparing yourself to other people and you start seeing, look, there's a lot of good stuff going on. It somehow feeds your fire. And also going to conferences, meeting other people, and finding out that you're on a road, a continuum that with lots of other people. When you're a local hero, you can do one good thing and you think, well, I'm done. I'm done. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
No. That's the beginning. That's how change starts, but that's not how it keeps going. Right? We gotta keep feeding ourselves with other people and other influences, and not get incestuous in our thinking. From one state to another, from one school to another, from one country to another.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So the platform, the LaunchMe platform, are you guys going to blow it out like, forums, like a Slack kind of thing, so that there's all these open forums and helping the communication, being the basis for the communication?
We have a Facebook group. Now, LaunchMe, up until now, has been a group of presenters who are trying to get beyond their local zip code, right? But LaunchMe for teachers, and we also do LaunchMe for students, because we think that kids, if they're doing great things, should be putting that out there globally too, because who knows what scholarship is looking for them from 3 states away, and they haven't even looked for it yet. So we think great student work should also be viral and should be out there and global. So, Ginger and I haven't really looked at taking that Facebook community and blowing it out, but we are open to that kind of thing. I think we could pick up a hashtag or two and see this may be the shot heard around the world, this particular thing here. I think a lot of people don't get that Teachers Global isn't a threat. Like, a lot of people are afraid if teachers ever saw their possibilities, they'd quit and go somewhere else.
Right.
Well, okay, so I challenge you to make your schools worth working in, number one. And then they won't leave. But also, a great Jedi teacher probably needs to get out beyond the cornfields of local just to feed their fire so they won't want to leave. I think they may stay longer if you reinforce them, if you invest in them. I think smart systems let their Jedis go out and flex their lightsaber powers once in a while.
There you go. That's right.
So they either, one, don't just die, of inattention, or two, leave for better options. I think a good leader sees this, understands this, and invests in this.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're right. Making sure that they're getting the nurturing they need locally, so they stay local. Because those Jedis have got to train Padawans. And if they don't train Padawans, then you got to have those local ones hanging out there to make sure that they're. And you're right. I think that's the biggest problem we're finding. To me, what I see, and me personally, my biggest deal is that I've got a big voice and I'm a big boy and I like a lot of big ideas, but locally I've pinnacled. I've hit the top. Nobody wants to hear me talk anymore.
Right.
Maybe that's a bad thing or a good thing.
Well, think about this. You hire new teachers, and you're a brand new teacher, right? You just walked into a system. You see a whole bunch of people that have tenure or they've been there a long time, right? And they're doing 10 years ago. You see one crazy person, right? And people are afraid of that person, but most of the cool stuff the school gets for headlines come from that place. So you got that one crazy guy versus those 5 Sith Lords, right?
Yeah.
We're outnumbered right now. So if we're going to grow Padawans, we have to get a little more gravitas. I mean beyond local recognition. That these people say, wow, all over the world, what they're doing seems to matter more. Maybe I'll trust that 1 or 2 people over those 5 Sith Lords that really need to retire.
Yeah, exactly.
But when you lose a brand new teacher to the Sith Lords, it's hard to get them back.
Yes.
Once they join the culture, and once they lower their game, it's extremely hard to raise your game once you lowered it.
Well, and I think how many Padawans we lose to selling shoes or taking a job 9 to 5 to get out of education completely because the dark side won. You know,
Yeah,
that's
I wouldn't blame them. You know, it's a survival thing, and a lot of schools will say they have a mentoring program, but they put the person with the most tenure in charge of that new Padawan, and it's not always the person with the most tenure, you know, that should be in charge of them. Right? They should carefully pick the current teachers who are doing what the school thinks is the future to be the mentors of those new teachers.
Yep, I agree. You know, taking a word from and doing that, I think it's really interesting. I love the way I've been doing this a long time, and I love the way the net has changed, and I love now. David and I were talking the other day that, you know, we're talking about websites and the fact that we don't need content management anymore because the cloud's there now. You know, Google and all that's all out there. Twitter's there for social, Facebook, Google Plus, Tumblr, all that good stuff's out there. But, you know, to steal a word from current marketing, that's the hardest thing for our teachers to learn to do for themselves, for our presenters, is branding. You know, helping them get their brand out there and how to understand how to get their brand out there. I think that's a big deal. Would you agree?
Yeah, yes, and I think that there's some misperception about brand. People fear brand because they're afraid a teacher will become an individual and divorce themselves from a system. A smart system wants to be branded too, right? What do we stand for? What does this school stand for? Who are we?
Right.
If you haven't built anything like that, all you have is a mission statement that's 25 years old and a white policy manual on a shelf collecting dust. Then the Padawans either have to join that sad, archaic model or build a brand. And the school would move a little faster and say, let's build a brand. Let's call ourselves something, and let's let people sort of join that brand, or, you know, join under the banner of that brand. It's a little more exciting, a little more now, a little more hip, a little more accessible, a little more attractive to digital parents shopping for schools on Android devices.
Yeah.
You know, and so I see both things. I see the extreme of people who get it and they're riding that front end of the wave, you know, and I see the ones who are sort of protecting the past, in love with what they used to be, you know, polishing their snow globe, you know, of everything they used to be good at. It's a big continuum there.
Yeah. So
we're being pretty like rebellious here on the road. What is it about driving down the road?
Something about driving.
Rush hour.
That's right,
It makes
man.
you willing to say the stuff you would never say.
that's right. So, you know,
But I think one of the things that is key here, though, is definitely those folks in charge, whoever that administration is, whatever that administration is. That's a key part of this. Without, the administration has to be willing to be a part of that movement. I mean, and really, that's exactly what you're doing. You're moving from this static, we are here, we are these four walls, out to, yes, we're these four walls, but guess what? This is what we're doing. And in the process, not only is that teacher building themselves up, building that person up, or those people up, depending on how many are involved there, but they're also helping with getting to the branding. They're also helping with the school's brand in general. So that is a sweet car. Sorry.
Paint that blue. That's my wife's car.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Anyway, sorry, distraction. But I think that the administration has got to be such that they recognize folks who are on that verge of launching out and who are doing cool things, and then want to share that person out. So you're talking about some kind of flexible scheduling, flexible contracting. I mean, something along those lines that let those folks kind of breathe beyond the contract that most of your teachers or most of your folks have. So that gives them that breathing room. But then also to say, okay, yes, we're going to give you all that. And as you go forth and you grow, you're going to help us grow because you're talking about what school you're with.
Right, exactly.
Or, what education service center you work for, or whatever.
Free advertising.
Yeah,
if they understand that, right? If they understand that. So I think of it like this. Most schools are like the Titanic. And you have a handful of teachers that are in speedboats out in front of the Titanic, bungeed to the deck. bungeed to the deck. So they have flexibility, but they're still tied to the Titanic. They can go out in front of the Titanic far enough to see the icebergs, see the challenges, see the opportunities, and the Titanic can change its course ever so slowly, but change it, with the guidance of those people in the speedboats. But if you see that as a threat and you make them all come back onto the deck of the Titanic, we can't do anything. We're all just waiting for the iceberg.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yes.
it's not a threat, but help me sub-brand. So let's say I call my classroom the Crazy Inman, Kansas, or Inman Schools Explorers. So I'm a sub-brand, right? I'm a sub-brand of Inman.
Right.
And the next classroom calls them the Entrepreneurs, the Inman Entrepreneurs. Inman is in the name every time.
Right.
If Inman is smart, they start to build a brand on top of us, Nabisco, whatever you want to call it. So people start saying, wow, that Inman school system seems to breed a whole lot of wonderful sort of crazy teachers who have great big thoughts. And then it helps the entire brand. But if the brand doesn't notice those people, if it punishes them, you pretty much tell us to leave,
Right.
basically.
Well,
Right.
and the biggest problem that I see everywhere is the leadership problem. If that captain continually wants them back on the deck, and that captain won't even let them get in the speedboats and run out front to find the icebergs. You see, that's what we see the most, is that it's probably inherent for the teachers to be fearful to step out, because they know every time that they approach that leader's going to say, you're funny, that's cute, go back to work and stay in your classroom. We see that a lot.
Right.
I think it's a perceived fairness issue. I think schools have always perceived themselves as fair. We're so fair, it's unfair how fair we are. Right? So no teacher is special in a fairness situation. No child is special in a fairness situation. Look, we do the same great thing for everyone, and therefore we don't serve most people.
Right.
If people would get over fairness and start thinking we have different kinds of teachers, different kinds of kids, maybe we need to make some freedoms to support those people, the overall difference in us will actually be great for the system.
Right.
And
Exactly.
if we can do this for teachers, maybe we can do it for kids.
Right.
Yeah.
I think what happens is you got 70, let's say on a faculty, you got 30 teachers who aren't doing this and 2 that are. And you're afraid. Now, you're either afraid or you're a leader, but you're not both. I was in Arkansas August, and I heard one of the best things an administrator ever said in an opening school PD. He said, this is Arkansas, he said, any of you out there who don't or aren't willing to do anything you have to and learn anything you have to prepare kids for their future, resign now.
That is awesome.
He said, I will write your letter of recommendation in any field other than education.
Oh.
Man. Wow.
I was sitting there going, wow,
Yeah.
wow, oh my God.
But the sad part is that we know leaders, personally know leaders, who would make that same statement, and then every 3 out of 4 times you come into their office to say, hey, listen, this is what I want to do, and the kids are going to sell t-shirts, and they're going to make this, it's all done by the kids and everything, they're going to say, no.
Right.
I know I said this about you would do anything, but so I guess what I'm getting at is that I think that part of the launch for teachers has to be the changing of the ideals of the leadership. Because
Right.
leaders, as we've learned in the current presidential election, anywhere, will say and do anything they have to do to try to get people on their side. So I mean, I've heard so many leaders make those statements. Oh, you need to quit our school district. I just came in and asked, can we have new soccer balls, because we've been kicking around Walmart sacks full of dirt because we don't have any soccer balls.
right.
Nope. I know that's a little extreme, but yeah, I think that. So I guess my next question is like, so give us a taste. Is there a step-by-step process for the teachers, i.e. the leaders? Are you guys going to throw out, hey, these are the 15 steps you have to do, and if you'll follow these 15 steps and these templates, then you're going to be able to do this?
Everybody is in a different environment,
Yeah.
and every environment has its own vernacular, its own dialect. I think part of it is realizing where you are and what the operable zone is, number one. Number two, I hope we have leaders in these discussions, because when you have leaders, things can move a lot faster. If it's just teacher practitioners, we're still in that problem of not having leaders get it. As long as leaders perceive themselves as managers, as bus route planners, we got a problem. I think we have to tell leaders, we need you to be visionary, right? We need you to allow us to do the things we do and back our play, right?
Right.
And if you want something different, right? But if you're looking for the same measurables from these new things we're doing, we can't do that. We can't give you the same rubric you've always had. So be ready for this. I want to send leaders to conferences and have them come back wearing mock turtlenecks and look like Steve Jobs. I want them to have a little bit of moxie about. To me, if you're not willing to risk your job, you shouldn't have it.
Right.
Oh, there you go. Wow.
And you made a good point.
Oh, that's so tweetable. That's a good tweet.
You need to tweet that right now. Yeah.
Tweet that out, man.
But you know, the interesting thing you said there is, like, you know, Steve Jobs came back to Apple because Apple was his. And I think that the problem we have with leadership in education is this, is that 99%, and I'm just throwing out a really high, stupid, ridiculous percentage there. The majority of leaders are not like the teachers that they're leading. The teachers that they're leading, when they get to a school that they like, they have nested and they build a family and they stay and they like that local thing. But most leaders look at it as, if I look at everything I do as that's my product. So what turns out for me, it might say Hope Public Schools on it, but the manager on the floor at that time was Jeff Madlock, and if there's a recall, my name's going to come up, and my name was on that product. And clip speakers, clip speakers are made in Hope, Arkansas, and the people that hand make those big clips horns and those La Scalas, those people live here and have lived here for generations. I mean, the people that are out here that still work at Clips have worked there for 20, 30, 40 years. And when those speakers go out the door, they might say Clips on the tag, but they say Johnson and Stevens and Woodard. You know, they say those names because that person handcrafted it. So what I'm getting at is, I think a lot of our leaders, they don't take it as personally, the product they're turning out, because they think, I'm going to move down the road and be a principal here somewhere else. If this doesn't work out, you know, I'm just going to trek on down the road and I'll be down here somewhere else.
See, that portability without accountability is a problem.
Yeah.
I could tell you the best 5 schools I've seen in the world in the last 10 years. In fact, I've got a list. In every case, right, the leader, yes, they're probably headed for other things because they're amazingly talented, but they consider what they're doing today to be part of their legacy and hugely important.
Yes.
So they're not just moving from thing to thing, lily pad to lily pad. They care about the current one because it leads to the next one. That kind of ownership and that kind of accountability is necessary. I think in the past, we hired administrators to be managers, bus route managers, people who answered angry phone calls, people who were gaskets in a system where hard edges weren't allowed to run into hard edges. And now we're living in a different reality where hard edges should come in contact with hard edges, right, to cleave new facet, new possibilities, right? And so that looks different than a manager who's there to soften everything and keep everyone happy, right? That's over. And I think a lot of people never got the memo.
I agree.
I want to talk about those crazy inspirational leaders who do get it, because I think we have to somehow make that bigger. We got to grow that.
Yeah, right.
When you see that attribute in an administrator, I think you've got to find some way to go to the school board member, third term here, and you got to say, please value this. This is an exceptional person who's doing something not everyone does. And until they value that, when they start valuing, I guess, pioneering over safety, over keeping everyone happy, we can begin to do what we're talking about.
Right. I agree. You know, I've always said, I want to run a school. I would love to run a school where my teachers never stayed over 5 years and they came fresh out of college. And I said, listen, you're going to become a superstar, and I want you to do everything you can possibly do to make yourself a superstar while you're working in my schools. Because who's going to benefit from that? Number one, the kids are going to benefit from it. Number two, the district's going to benefit from it. And I think that would be like the most amazing, crazy school system you've ever seen. So, and I agree with you. It's trying to find those leaders that can grasp that concept. You're right. There's very few of them out there. There's very few of them out there.
I think people complain that schools are up against it politically. We're taking a beating, but I haven't minded this adversarial environment because to me, the pioneering schools, we have nothing to lose right now.
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Right? And I think if, let's say that everything went crazy and they said, we're going to do, anyone can go to school anywhere, they have vouchers. I don't fear that. Why would I fear vouchers? If I think half my students would leave overnight, then I suck.
Right.
Right? So wouldn't I steal half of your population if I was good? I don't mind that competitive thing. If it's the current status quo, then let's use it.
Yeah.
They say never waste a good crisis.
Right.
I think we have a crisis right now. We have a chance to go ahead and prove some things during this time when we're all up against the ropes like Rocky taking a beating, rope-a-doping, trying to survive to get to the last round with Apollo Creed or whoever. I don't have a problem with that, but I want to make sure that the people who are in the fight are talking, showing the fight, broadcasting the fight, letting the world see what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Otherwise, we're fighting in some club with like no one in the audience, and we're either going to win or lose, and it doesn't matter because no one saw the thing.
Nobody played the cover to even get in, so it doesn't even matter. It's
I'll
That's one of the things that I think part of this all feeds either into or or is a result of a lot of this. I agree with you. I totally think that vouchers and for lack of a better word, privatization, and I know I'm not using that word necessarily in the same context a lot of people may be thinking, but by the same token, essentially, I think we get very comfortable and complacent and compliant, frankly, with when we are in a situation where certain entities govern how, frankly, the money that we receive is used, monitored, doled out, whereas, like you were saying, vouchers, yeah, bring them on. Because if you're all leaving, then we suck, like you said, so we suck, and we're either going to fail or we suck. We recognize that we're not doing well. We need to change our ways and get back those folks.
Right.
Yeah, use it. You know what it is? It's free educational toasters. Test drive us. You get your free educational toaster. So
There you go.
yeah. I've always thought when the vouchers first came up in 2000, the vouchers came up and everybody started panicking. I thought the same thing. I was like, that's going to be great because now I'm going to have to compete for the money, and nothing really drives anything forward than competition. If you got to compete for, so a little competition, a little shake up, a little crisis. Nothing does it any better than that right there. Yeah, I agree.
So let me dovetail on that. We were talking about LaunchMe. One of the central tenets of LaunchMe is when we're talking to speakers and we're talking to teachers, one of the things we say is, if the people in front of you didn't have to be in front of you, would they be in front of you? Because people who've always had people who had to be there confuse themselves with people who are actually interesting to listen to. If the people in front of you have the choice to get up and leave and they do, you're done. Right? But we have a system that's had compulsion built into it. I have to be there. Right? So because your class is mandatory, right, it's a required course, you have kids every semester, and you think that's because they want to be there. Take away that have to be there and see if that class stays full.
Right.
I kind of like that because you have these crazy teachers who, if the schedule ever permitted, their classes would be full.
Right.
Full. The people don't have choices. So I'm okay for choices. I don't have a problem. I asked the school the other day, I said, if your school was a mall, right, and I drew a picture of their school as a mall. And I said, what's the anchor store? Well, the anchor store is Civics because everyone has to take it. Okay, let's pretend they don't need stuff from JCPenney. No one needs slacks anymore, okay? No one needs nylon slacks.
Yeah.
Now what's the anchor store? Well, the art teacher's crazy. Everyone likes him. Cool. Okay, so he's the anchor store. What's he doing to get people to come to his store? Well, he's interesting. He's always doing PR. The kids like him. He's personable. Okay, what if the other stores did that? Well, they wouldn't. Okay, then your mall is bankrupt. Okay, so let's start planning a mall that people want to come to, and not just one anchor store, but actually every store, right? So every store owner now has to start thinking about, how do I get curb appeal? How do I get people to want to come in? I'm sorry, but yes, kids might want to be interested before they walk in the door. Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be awesome.
That would be, no, we can't have that. You get radical on us now.
Well, if my school does the mall thing and every store is hot and everyone wants to go there, but your store is like, I don't know, it's still selling slacks, and no one comes there, I want to beat you. You should be beaten.
Right,
Yes.
exactly. That's
That's the American way.
exactly free market economy.
You know what? Well, you know what's interesting about that is I also want it to be like, listen, I can go to this one store and get everything that I need, and a fraction of the time it takes me to shop anywhere else.
Right, exactly.
So that's
Right.
the other part of getting kids excited. They can go, listen, I'm going to come in and get what I need, and when I get what I need, I'm going to move on to the next level.
Right.
I'm all for that. I'm for. Well, I'm 16 and I did everything I needed to do. I'm ready to go code Ruby, or I'm ready to go build T-shirts and sell them online. I think we've got to get our minds wrapped around the fact that it doesn't have to be, well, you're going to be here till 18, so put that handcuff on your wrist and sit at that desk.
Exactly.
Yeah, don't gnaw your arm off.
Yeah.
Right? But let's pretend that I'm the history teacher, and I love history. I love all the nuance of history, right? So I'm really opening a curio shop in the middle of a mall, and you can buy shoes over there, and you can buy the buckle is over there. Okay, so my job is to make history interesting. I had a college history teacher one time. I asked him how old his notes were he was reading from, because they look like papyrus. And he said, well, I wrote this thesis that I'm reading from in 1957.
Oh, wow.
I said,
Yeah.
wow, I'm paying for a current education.
Yeah.
He said to me, history doesn't change. I said, the way you teach it might.
No.
And that's what I'm talking about. If you can't make your stuff look interesting, why wouldn't you do that? If you still love it and you've continued to live long enough to translate what you love into current vernacular.
Right. Yeah.
If you haven't, then I think that's the job, is curb appeal, right?
Yeah,
Why?
right. Yes.
If you figure out why your curriculum should be interesting to a current human, then it's already over, right?
Right.
I mean, if you can't translate it. So I hope you have enough passion to be the Rosetta Stone for your curriculum.
I see that you guys have stopped the car.
Yeah, we're at the hotel.
Yeah. We're
Okay.
actually at the hotel.
Well, cool. You know, being the time manager that I am, that works out beautiful for what we're doing here. So I don't want to keep you any longer because now you got things to do and we got prep for Ty. So, hey,
We got to get food.
Are we going to broadcast from Thai?
We can.
Yeah, let's
Sure, why
talk
not?
some more about as this goes along.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
just holler
Cool.
at me.
I've got all kinds of stuff I want to show you guys. I've got an Air Jams guitar that just went on Kickstarter, but I have an early preview
Uh-huh.
device. And you play guitar by just moving your wrist back and forth. I'm wearing one
Oh, I
right
saw
here.
it. I saw it on your Twit post. Yeah, your Twitter post.
So I'm going to do a video on that, but I would love to just do a live version of that so you guys can kind of hear.
Yeah.
Put David on it since he's not.
Yeah.
You've not touched it, right?
No,
It's brand new to you, right?
Yeah.
I've not. Wait, I touched it just now.
You did. You lingered though. That was weird.
Kevin, I'm sorry you have to hang around with that door. Hey, it's good, David, not to have you in the studio today. I'm picking on you. I'm just picking on you. Hey, yeah, if you guys want to hook back up, David, just holler at to us, and
Yeah, man.
we'll pop up.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we have a few things. I gotta do some fiber work, but Friday, maybe Friday, last day.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
We'll make some time for you guys. Hey, Kevin,
And-
thanks a million for being on the show as usual.
This is live right now, but it'll be archived, right?
Right.
Yep,
yes.
it'll be up in probably the next 30 minutes.
So hit at Kevin Honeycutt. Make sure you hit me on Twitter so I can retweet that so people can see this crazy conversation that was a lot of fun.
That's
You
right.
bet. We'll do it.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
didn't even crack.
Hey, we're about to play your song. I need my teachers to learn. If that's cool with you.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
Honored.
All right, man.
Y'all have a
We'll
good
holler
one.
at you guys later.
Okay, great to have you on the show.
Take it easy.
Later.
Bye-bye.
So yeah, I want to thank Kevin Honeycutt and David for FaceTiming in with us and being on the show. That was fun.
That was fun.
Eats up a lot of time when you just start talking.
Exactly. We
You
get
know,
on a roll. We
You
always
get me
do.
talking, I will never shut up. So yeah, hey, now we'll jump right out and listen to some music. This is Kevin Honeycutt with his song "I Need My Teachers to Learn."
In the 27th row of her college class, she was working real hard trying to pass. She studied all night for the test she took, but she couldn't use the notes on her own MacBook. He told him that note cards were the things they needed, and he wouldn't change his mind though she begged and pleaded. The dark red F was no surprise as the tears formed in her eyes. She said, kids are changing, any fool can tell, and the ways that you teach them have to change as well. You might not like it 'cause we grow up fast, but prepare us for the future and not your past. There's not 1 minute to burn. I need my teachers to learn. In detention hall, there's a quiet young man with his head hung low, phone in his hand. He's asking his dad to feed his dog, 'cause he tried to post a story on his own blog. He was hoping that people would read his words, 'cause an audience of one seemed a bit absurd. Whatever happened to compromise? He said the school should realize. Kids are changing, any fool can tell, and the ways that you're teaching have to change as well. You might not like it 'cause they grow up fast, but prepare them for the future, not your past. There's not 1 minute to burn. They need their teachers to learn. In a third grade room in a tiny town, there's a blue-eyed girl who's feeling down. She tried to bring her daddy to show and tell that he was gonna Skype them and wish them well. She showed him all the camera on her mom's netbook, but they wouldn't let her do it on a school network. The man in camo never called. He was blocked by a firewall. Things are changing, any fool can tell, and the ways that you're teaching have to change as well. You might not like it 'cause they grow up fast, but prepare them for the future and not your past. There's not 1 minute to burn. They need their teachers to learn. They need their teachers to learn.
Blake Montgomery is a new young lawyer in Hope. He's located in the Bancorp South building at 200 South Elm in downtown Hope. Blake is a Hope native and a graduate of the University of Arkansas. He is a general practice attorney providing solutions for legal needs. Blake offers assistance with contracts, real estate transactions, and other commercial issues. He can assist individuals with a will and/or estate planning. Blake is proud to serve the citizens of Southwest Arkansas. Phone Blake at 777-6700. That's 777-6700. Blake Montgomery, attorney at law in the Bancorp South building in downtown Hope.
When your eyes that gaze upon me, and your silhouette is near, all I will ask of you is to love me down, 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 with your mercy all around. And when your poetry is clear, all I will ask of you is to love me now, now, now. Oh, I love you more than words can say. Oh, I ain't throwing that word, no. Just love me, just love me, just love like you want to. Just love me, just love like only you know to. warm sunlight. You know I would ask of you is to hold me tight. With your gentle arms around me, like whisper winds at mine. Just have to ask of you to go all night, night, night. Oh, I love you more than words can say. Oh, I ain't throwing that away. No, just love me, just love me, just love like you want to. Just love me, just love like only you know to. My love, nothing can stop us now. No how. Our love is endless with no bound. I found a love like death was my friend. Just love me, just love me, just love like you want to. Just love me, just love like only you know to. Just love me, just love me, just love like you want to. Just love me, just love like only you know to. Yeah, baby, just love me. Just love me too. Just love me too. Just love me.
Hey, you listen to the EduTech Guys radio, edutechguys.com, coming to you live from the Hidden Cave in the Hope Public Schools Administration Building, 117 East 2nd Street, downtown Hope. So if you want to come find us, just throw that out there. Hey, it was really great to have Kevin Honeycutt on the show, coming from a moving car,
That was great.
traveling from the airport in Little Rock to Plummerville, Arkansas, which is right near Conway. If you might know where Conway is, University of Central Arkansas is in that city. It was great to have him on the show, and you just heard Kevin Honeycutt's I Need My Teachers to Learn, and you also heard Nick C., Just Love Me. Great singer we always have on the show because he has good music, and he's David's relative. So, yeah, it's been a great show. We have the last thing, the Google Trick of the Week.
Feature of the week. Whoa. It's just not the same without David.
Yeah, David's not here to sing it, so it just kind of loses
It's
all
awful.
of its appeal.
Scrap the whole thing. Scrap the recording. We're doing
Yeah,
it over.
we're quitting. Let's leave. We're leaving the studio.
Yeah, today's Google App Feature of the Week is a feature that was added to the Android and iPhone apps, and I'm sure will be coming to the web soon enough because that's just the way Google works. It's for Google Calendar, and it's for scheduling those things that you try to work in around your other hard set scheduled stuff like exercise, things that you're trying to learn, personal improvement, that sort of thing. And it's sort of a flexible scheduling tool, so you can create some sort of event that you want to do, some exercise, learning some new skill, and then tell it the general time that you would like to perform this skill during the day, either in the morning or in the afternoon or that sort of thing. And it will automatically fit it in around your other calendar items.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, and if you have something else that you need to add to that time slot that was automatically filled, you just put in a new calendar event, and it shuffles the Google activity the Google goal that you put in to another time slot.
That's smooth.
And if you can't make it that day for whatever reason, for something that's not on the calendar, you can tell it, oh, nope, not today, or do it later, and it'll automatically move it down to a later time in the calendar.
That's awesome. I use Google Calendar on my iOS device. Love it. And I love it because one of my favorite things it does is if it recognizes a term inside whatever your goal or event is, it creates the graphic for it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's pretty cool. Yeah, that's a great feature.
Yeah.
That's a really neat feature.
It's super handy for those things that you want to do, but you don't really want to sit down and hard schedule them every single day.
How does the Google Calendar app work on the watch? Does it work?
I actually haven't used it yet.
Okay.
So I would not know, but I will actually.
I can tell you that I do use the Google Calendar app pretty much exclusively on my phone and my iPad, and I love it. It's actually, the coolest part is it's really easy to add something to. The big red plus button.
Yeah, exactly.
Choose what you want and drop it in.
That's exactly where the Google Goals is now. It's right under that big add.
I've seen it. In fact, I saw it yesterday. I was like, goals, so that's new. And I was like, well, this is Jeff. I have no goals. So. See, I was trying to get a highlighter thrown at me, which would probably happen if I didn't know any better.
They're all behind me right
That's
now.
That's right. See, because I knew you couldn't turn around. Hey, once again, want to thank Kevin Honeycutt for coming on the show. Want to thank David for doing that.
Absolutely.
Check us on the web, www.edutechguys.com. You can always listen to us at radio.edutechguys.com. This one will be up in just a bit as soon as we can upload it and get it all that good stuff done. It'll be on the podcast page at edutechguys.com. Follow us on Twitter at EduTechGuys.
It's almost like we have a single brand or something.
Oh my gosh, we're branded. If you want to catch us on Instagram, which is a new one, we're at instagram.com/EduTechGuys. If you want to follow us on Facebook, you can also find us at facebook.com/EduTechGuys. So, we are the EduTech Guys. Hey, it's been a great show. I'm Jeff Madlock.
I'm Greg Moore.
And we'll see you next time.
You've been listening to EduTech Guys Radio, radio.edutechguys.com.
The opinions expressed on the site and this program are those of participants and not intended to and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of any specific educational entity, sponsor, company, state, or government agency.